Corey Davis, he won't practice today, and then Dwayne, Herbig, CJU, and Lamarcus will be limited. But not worried about the game for those last four.
Corey probably still a little bit away.
Yeah, he's going to be day to day. We'll see. It's on the fence.
Does having the bye next week play into the decision at all, Robert? If you can give him another week.
Not necessarily. If Corey can go, he's going to want to go.
What jumps out when you turn on the Bills film?
Probably the most complete football team we'll see all season. The offense, defense, special teams, they're deep. They're littered with Pro Bowlers in all three phases, and very well coached. They play hard. Quarterback's outstanding. Their defensive front, very deep, disruptive. It's a damn good football team.
Did you coach against Josh early in his career, those first 2 years when you were in San Francisco?
We got him, I think it was his third year. Would that have been 20?
Yeah.
That was his third year. Yeah, that was the only time.
Can you ever recall a quarterback that, because I'm sure you're probably aware of some of his struggles early in his career, like, can you ever recall a quarterback that made that substantial of a leap, like with his completion percentage and just passing what he's capable of doing on the field?
I'm not sure, all players, D-line, quarterback, they cook a little bit differently. You look at Geno over in Seattle, he's doing his thing. Back in the day, I can recall Alex Smith coming on later in his career. Rich Gannon is probably the latest. Kurt Warner. So some guys just take a little bit longer. But Josh, he's been, he always had the wheels. He always had that. It was just a matter of just getting comfortable. And I know he put a lot of work into his arm in terms of trying to work with different people from an accuracy standpoint. And he's done a great job. He's put the work in.
Who does he compare to, Robert? Is there anyone you think of that has the blend of running and passing like he does?
People say Big Ben, a younger version of Big Ben. He just, he stands in there and people just bounce off him. He can make every throw, and he can work off schedule, and he can work on schedule. So he's arguably one of the better quarterbacks in football right now.
Is your team better equipped for this matchup now when you look at the improvements in the secondary and other things you've done?
Yeah, we feel good about our defense. We feel like we've added speed. There's a lot more experience in our it's year 2, so we're a lot more precise in how we do things. It's still going to be a great challenge. Gabe Davis is a lot better than he was a year ago. Stephon, obviously, it's goes without words. Their skill guys are fantastic. They do a great job scheme-wise. So yeah, it's going to be a great challenge. It's going to be our biggest challenge to date. But I do think it's a challenge that our guys are ready for.
Josh obviously played a pretty big role in that offense taking off. But, I think when they got Diggs, too, that kind of made a pretty significant difference. Did you see that and just how much of a difference it's made?
Absolutely. At any time you surround, it's the quarterback is a cog to the to a bigger whatever machine. And the more you surround him with great players, the better he'll get. And Stephon is one of the best in football. Excellent route runner, violence, plays with intensity, plays with swag. So he's really good. Gabe's just a big body, and then their backs are all really good out of the backfield. Tight end's really good. O-line does a nice job. So he's surrounded by the right pieces, and then you take a guy like Josh, who's already by himself fantastic. It just makes for a really good offense.
Adding a guy like Aim Hicks is also. How does that change what they want to do?
He's fast. Gives them another element out of the backfield. I think he's got like a 4.3 play speed, so he's got wheels. We saw him last year, unfortunately, on Thursday Night Football. So he's a really good football player, a good addition for them.
Robert, you allowed 100. When you look at the different moves that were made yesterday, does it feel like the division got a little tougher?
Oh yeah, no, there were. Miami did a really nice job. I feel like they've done a really nice job with their draft capital and ending up with the players that they ended up with. Buffalo's already fantastic, and then you add a little bit more speed. So it's it's a division that's got, in my opinion, 4 really good football teams and 4 teams that are capable of making a run. And credit to Miami and Buffalo being able to add a little bit.
Robert, with Elijah Moore
obviously, not going anywhere now with the trade deadline passed. But what can you anticipate for his role? I mean, is it going to, 10 plays was kind of jumped out because he's been playing pretty much every down.
No, for sure. We'll find a way to make sure that balances out the way we want it to. But at the same time, like I said, with Corey being down, getting Mims out there, keeping a bigger body out at that Z, and Garrett's playing at such a high level right now to give him the op to play football too. But you're right. We've got to make sure we find more opportunities for E.
Robert, obviously Buffalo already had a really good defense up there, but can you talk about what the addition of Von Miller has meant to them and how you plan to attack him or prevent him from attacking you?
Yeah, their front similar to ours in the sense that it rolls. They keep rolling guys and they keep guys fresh, and they play hard, they play violent, they penetrate. Von is. You watch a tape and he can still rush a passer as good as anybody, and it adds a whole element because it's, the quarterback is the head of the snake, and if the D line doesn't, if you don't need the blitz to disrupt the head of the snake, then you're living a good life, and that group that Buffalo has is pretty good.
How do you score in that group? They've given up only 98 points all year, number 4 in the league.
No, it's that's gonna be the challenge. It's gonna be a challenge for sure.
After what happened Sunday with Zach with the interception stuff, he's obviously taken a lot of criticism this week, whether locally, nationally, whatever. Do you ever worry about that, like getting to his head for a young quarterback? Is it if he just goes on in line?
Yeah, for sure, and it is a good question. They we're all human, right? And they grew up on social media, so it's part of the fabric of their lives, and so he. As much as you try to ignore it, he knows. But at the same time, I think these young kids are more equipped than, say, me, who didn't grow up in social media, where one person says something and be like, "Oh my God!" But it's not even, so you just they're able to compartmentalize. It's pretty interesting, That's the way they grew up, and so we're not worried about Zach. These kids more and more understand process. They understand what it takes. They know how to block out noise. They know how to stay focused. Is there a human element in that he wants to prove to the world that he's a good football player? Absolutely. They all have that. And but with a guy like Zach who comes in and works his tail off day in and day out and is trying to figure things out, I think once he figures out his swing, it's gonna be really good. He's gonna be really good.
How is he going to balance wanting to prove to people that he's legitimate while also playing within the structure of the offense and not having what happened against the Patriots where he started just throwing balls out there trying to make plays because he didn't want to keep throwing it away?
Yeah, no, that's good. It goes back to the comment I made. I forget when I made it. Referencing CJ's breaking down the team on Friday. It's okay to be bored, and sometimes being bored is good enough, and that to understand that all those throwaways over the last 4 weeks prior to last week, all those throwaways, all those scrambles that got us out of trouble helps. That's making a play, and sometimes the best play is making the boring throwaway that he was doing a really nice job of over the last 5 weeks, but. So the balance is to understand that we have a pretty good team. You're surrounded by really good players, and that if we can just live to play another down, eventually we'll get it to where we need to get to, and our playmakers will make plays. And so he's learning every day. He's getting better every day, and knowing him, he's going to be relentless in that pursuit.
Do you anticipate Jermaine Johnson being active this week? And also, could you just elaborate on that comment you made last week? You said rookies forgetting stuff when they're out a little bit. Maybe you could just.
Yeah, he will be active. He's rookies. When they come into the league, there's a lot of stuff going on for these young men, and some when you get them in a groove, they can be pretty good. And for Jermaine, we've had a very deep defensive line, and if it's not 100% crisp, and this is for all of them, they all deserve to play. Then we're going to roll with the guys who can. So he came back, obviously, just a little, not 100% on his with his injury, but we just want him to have a clean, confident week of practice so he can go out and execute the way he was before he got hurt.
Robert, it's November, and you have a very meaningful football game. What does that say about the growth of this team and this franchise?
Feel like we've gotten a lot better from a year ago. I think Joe and his staff have done a fantastic job bringing in the right players. guys with the right mindset, guys who want to get better, and guys who can focus on the moment. Feel like the schemes are a lot better than they were a year ago in terms of just the cohesion between coaches and players and understanding verbiage. So yeah, I feel like it's a lot better. The results are showing us a lot better, but at the same time, it doesn't matter unless we continue to stay focused on the moment and continue to stack up good days.
Robert, there was a lot of stats off the beginning of the day about Zach under pressure and kind of not having time. While we focus on him, making better decisions, is that also an area of focus this week? Is trying to figure out a way to protect him more back there?
For sure, timing and rhythm, protection, running your routes in a manner where it's efficient enough to be within the rhythm, the timing of the play. So it's all encompassing. It's not always just the offensive line. Sometimes it's, from, like I said, just said, from a route running standpoint, sometimes we can be better from play calling in terms of making sure that the protection is there. And then sometimes the O-line's got to be better in protection. And the quarterback obviously plays a part in it. But again, there's no excuses. I mean, it is what it is. We've had some shuffling, but those guys got to get ready to go play, and we got to find a way to continue to get better and become more efficient on offense.
Robert, because of the numbers that the Bills put up offensively, does this make it a harder week to preach being boring to a quarterback who probably wants to go toe to toe?
I guess the game will dictate that. We're excited for the challenge, though.
When you have those two guys in the secondary that you now have, what does it allow your defense to do up front? Especially with Josh, who's going to be throwing or running.
I'm assuming you're talking about the corners?
Yes.
Yeah, because those two safeties are pretty good too now. But no, it does. It just it allows you the flexibility where you feel confident. You don't have to force the issue of traveling guys. You can remain structured and still mix up your coverages where there's no tell. And so because of them, we've been able to be a little bit more versatile in terms of our coverage system. And I think Brick and his staff are doing a fantastic job with regards to creating that balance and what's the word I'm looking for? The predictability aspect of it, limited.
Robert, you talk about Zach finding his swing there, but we talked about Josh Allen and then Geno Smith, right, Josh obviously had the early success, Geno now finding it. Do you look at yourself and your coaching staff here and the way you're teaching him? Because I know the timeline in the NFL is never very long. Do you change anything in your approach to teaching him so that it fits him better?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I do think Mike and his staff that doing a great job trying to figure out, okay, what does he do really well now, and how can we continue to emphasize or not focus on the weaknesses, but continue to build his weaknesses up, but focus on the strengths that he has and take it to the football field so our offense can move at a high clip. And but there is all that. Obviously, there's the scheme, and then there's the player and doing what the player is comfortable with, along with the rest of the offense. I do think that those are things that we're all continually working on and things that we can all get better at.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.